Just watch me breaking. I swear you're falling into me. Touch me. I swear you would do anything that I want. So keep us awake till the dawn. Ooh, baby, feel free. I wanna make you sweat on me. I wanna make you sweat on me.
Good morning to everybody in London, and welcome to everybody viewing this in Asia Pac. This is our third Grow with Inbound. Our first 2 years were live events in central London, but of course this year the pandemic means that we are fully virtual. But also, as Huble Digital, we're also fully international. In a moment, I shall introduce you to the first of our friends here at HubSpot in Singapore, HubSpot's regional HQ for APAC, just as they are finishing their day, and whilst we're starting ours here in London. Later this morning, we're traveling to Dublin to visit HubSpot in the middle of the day, and we will also be at our Huble offices in Cape Town in South Africa. We finish our day from London by waking up HubSpot HQ on the East Coast in Boston, and the final sessions of the day will come from our friends in our Huble office in Chicago. So throughout the day, we've got 15 different sessions running with 22 fantastic hosts and presenters, and they'll all be joining us from 4 different continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America, and in numerous different time zones. Today, you're joining more than 612 marketers, salespeople, and customer service experts, as well as many of our friends from other HubSpot partners that we work with from around the world. I'm really pleased that you've been able to join us. Thank you. It wouldn't have been the same without you. We hope you'll find this is both educational and informative. Now let's get started. I'd like to welcome our guest, Shahid Nizami. Good afternoon, Shahid.
Hey Bob, good afternoon.
Let me just tell people a little bit about you. Shahid has an impeccable 20+ year career in technology, rising in management over the years with Xerox, NewGen, through to Oracle, establishing himself as an APAC regional expert. He joins Google to head up APAC in 2013, and then he meets a man called Jitu Martani from HubSpot in 2017, and suddenly he finds himself as MD of a rapidly growing HubSpot business in Singapore from 2018. He's built a great team, and he's established HubSpot as a great place to work in Singapore and in Asia in just the 2 years that he's been there in place. Shahid, it's a great pleasure to welcome you here. Thank you very much for joining us. I did actually save one more slide up from the intro that we put together. Your office were kind enough to share this slide with us. Can I ask you for a little bit of an explanation here on the background to this? I was wondering whether this was one of your regular jam sessions with a young member of the programming team, but maybe that's not the case.
Well, that's a great question, Bob. And first of all, I have to say this, that you are one of the very few of my European friends who pronounce my name correctly. A lot of people end up calling this Shahid. And like I have told you a few times, Shahid means a dead man. It means a martyr. So thanks for calling me Shahid and not Shahid. Congratulations to the Huble team for putting up this great event, a bit online, but I'm sure it will be equally valuable as compared to your previous events as well. Coming to this pic, that's actually me and my son, Kian. We are jamming together. This picture was taken a couple of months ago when Singapore was in a very strict lockdown mode. And I know COVID-19 caused a lot of distress, generally speaking, for everyone. But one silver lining for me was that I got to spend more time with my son during the lockdown phase, and we were just getting more quality time together. And one of this was to just jam together. Not that we are great musicians, but we are both learning the guitar and drum respectively, and we kind of started to jam together during COVID-19. So that was what it is. As far as the orange door goes, well, that's become my favorite color. You know, the orange is my favorite color for the last 2 years, and even my favorite fruit changed from something else to orange. So orange is kind of the flavor of life.
Nice color scheme. Very much on message. We're here to talk a little about HubSpot and how HubSpot's been faring in these rather strange socially distanced times that we live in. Maybe we could just kick off by asking you about how HubSpot is coping with moving to a working from home environment.
Yeah. I think the whole world had to reset. But for us, we were a little lucky that even pre-COVID, we had 10% of our employees fully remote. So that way, remote working was not an absolute alien concept for us. Like we are about 3,700 employees globally. So 10% is a significant portion. And when COVID struck and we were forced to work from home, we did have to ensure that we adapted well to this new normal. And we did a lot of enablement for our employees on some best practices about working from home, including some tips which came from our existing fully remote employees. So that was really good. One thing which we did go through as a whole organization was talking about this concept of the 6 phases of adapting to change, which has got its a few peaks and troughs. Like one of the, so the 6 phases, the first phase is the first shock, where everyone is kind of helpless and they don't know what to do. The second phase is what they call as the novelty phase, and this is an interesting one because a lot of people realize that. For example, I realized that, hey, you can actually do virtual backgrounds in Zoom. So I started playing with it and I realized that you can actually do some fun stuff. But that phase goes away pretty quickly. The novelty phase goes out pretty quickly. And then people get into the troughs of things where there's a lot of frustration about not getting things done the way you used to. You can get into depression about not being able to be efficient and successful. But slowly the peak starts coming up again and people get into the innovation phase and then the integration and accepting the new normal. So it was good for us to know this, that all of us as HubSpotters will go through these phases, right? And we were experiencing that. But when you're cognizant that this is normal, like you will go through a phase of frustration, for example, but the next phase is coming to a fact where you will innovate and integrate and accept the new normal. So that was a lot of good training for us. But one overall an area we focus a lot on, Bob, was to lead with empathy with our employees, with our partners, with our customers. We ran a lot of sessions on mental health to ensure that the pandemic and its side effects like social isolation, no physical interaction with others, etc., we ensure that this does not take a toll on our employees' mental health. So we did run a lot of these sessions around being mindful, and we were very clear that our employees are in different phases of their lives, where some people had a problem of having too many people at home, right? Like working parents, or you're working in a joint family and stuff like that. And we had some employees who were like, hey, I live by myself and I've not seen like a human being for the last 20 days, right? So we had to be very cognizant that there are people in different phases of their lives and we have to be empathetic towards them. And we started saying that we had to accept the new normal. So sighting of a toddler on our Zoom meetings, or a baby crying in the background on a call, or a pet walking across the screen, all these things, rather than being distractions, became kind of a part and parcel of working from home. So I think, again, just being human about it, being more accepting of that helped us a lot. And the last couple of things which we did very well was we did a lot of training for our managers, because again, as managers, nobody trained us to be managing remotely. So we did some sessions about how can you build a culture and evolve your culture in this new world. We also did a lot of fun events, like the whole Sydney office actually had a virtual treasure hunt, which was a fun exercise. We had cooking classes for our employees in Singapore. We did a lot of team bonding sessions on a weekly basis, like Pictionaries and trivia quizzes and stuff like that. So it really kept the team buzzing. It kept people going, and I think we really were able to manage our mental health as well as ensure that we are equally productive, and in some cases even more productive as compared to being in the office.
It's a tough thing to do. I appreciate you certainly managing performance over an extended period of time remotely becomes a real challenge, I think, for everybody. Anybody who's watching here will have appreciated the issues. Do you have any more tips or things that you've considered within HubSpot that might help us?
Well, as in what, like I talked a lot about how did we work with our employees, but it's also important to think about, as any businesses, like think about your customers and your partners. So we did understand that a lot of customers globally and businesses were impacted with COVID, but more so small businesses which did not have a digital presence or had a digital strategy. They did not have a digital strategy. We understood that they may be struggling the most and they have cash flow problems. So we also decided that as a business, we'll reduce, for example, the first year cost for the starter growth suite for our customers, so that they can get started with HubSpot and can take their first steps in going digital at a very minimal cost. So again, just don't think about your employees. I think that's very important, but it's also equally important to think about your customers and your partners. So we did take a few steps when COVID was at its peak. Not that we are past it, but we did take a lot of measures to be very thoughtful to our entire ecosystem and not just for our employees.
Okay. And on a broader basis, have you seen changes, trends in the marketplace that indicate changes of behavior from sales and marketing leaders in business?
Yeah, absolutely. Businesses which were very much used to face-to-face or physical meetings or running big marketing physical events, they actually had to do a huge reset and readjust their strategy. For example, we actually got a customer signed a few months ago where their core business was to do a lot of big events across APAC. And then they said, hey, we have a lot of these people registered for our events, and now we want to ensure we are nurturing them. And we don't have a real clear strategy to do that. So again, we work with them to ensure that they are working with these existing contact base they have. And then how do you create more virtual events which can be customized? Because if you do one big physical event, you can only do as much of customization because it becomes too expensive to run like 10 parallel physical events. But when you're in the virtual world, like businesses who adapted quickly, they said, okay, now I can run very specific events for different audiences and really cater to them in a very customized way. So I think there was a lot of silver lining for customers who were able to adapt quickly to the new world on the marketing side. And even on the sales side, like what we realized was businesses who did not have a very strong CRM system in place, right? And they were like, yeah, I meet my sales team every day in the office, so I can always see what's happening with this specific lead or the specific prospect they're working with. But then the need of a proper system to manage your customers, which is a CRM tool, was even more enhanced. So in fact, we saw like HubSpot is an inbound driven company. So we measure our QLs coming through into our system on a weekly basis. And we saw that during COVID, across all regions, so this is a global trend, be it JPAC or LATAM or Americas or EMEA, everywhere our QLs actually went through the roof because a lot of people realized that they need to get more online. They need to have a digital marketing strategy. They need to have a CRM in place. They need to have a solid service desk so that they don't lose their existing customers. So that way, everything clicked in really well. And we also saw a big uptake on the usage of things like the CMS Hub because people wanted to build more agile websites for their businesses.
How about email? Did you see a massive increase? There's a temptation here where suddenly digital, send thousands of emails out. There's a great opportunity. People are at their machines.
Yeah. We saw that. Like we actually commissioned a bit of a study where we said, let's look at a benchmark data of pre-COVID days. So we looked at a benchmark data saying what was the typical activity around different business trends, be it marketing emails sent and clicked, sales emails sent and responded to, the website traffic, so on and so forth. And what we saw was very interesting trends. Again, no surprises that all these email sent numbers went up drastically. So for example, the number of marketing emails, the send rate went up by about 30% post-COVID, because businesses realized that they need to engage with their prospects and customers in this online world. And as many countries were in a lockdown mode. And though countries started easing some restrictions, the marketing email send rates actually remained high as compared to the pre-COVID benchmarks. However, what we also saw was, though the number of email send rate went up by 30%, the email open rates only improved slightly, right? Because the customers' inboxes were getting cluttered with these marketing emails. So they didn't have the bandwidth to kind of click through all those emails. So that was an interesting trend which we observed. The other one, which was even more shocking, so was on the salespeople. The salespeople started sending out 40% more emails as compared to pre-COVID days, or the pre-COVID benchmark. And the more alarming data was that they're sending 40% more emails, but the response rate to those emails reduced drastically. It was as low as minus 36% in APAC in April. And then it stayed negative throughout the last 4 months. It's never kind of trended up in as compared to the pre-COVID days. So really very interesting data points about how marketing and salespeople in a way are getting too desperate to reach out to their prospects and customers. But if you're not being thoughtful about it, and if you're just kind of spraying and praying, that's not a good strategy to have. So that was what we saw on the marketing and sales emails. The other trend which we saw, Bob, was around the uptick in the website traffic. So again, for example, in APAC alone, the website traffic for our customers grew steadily every single month since COVID kicked in. Again, the latest data we published on our website was for the last week of August, where in APAC, the website traffic grew by 41% as compared to pre-COVID benchmarks. So like even when businesses have started opening up, or you have retails opening in let's say Singapore, most parts of Asia are opening up pretty quickly, still people are hesitant to go out. They still prefer to kind of do a lot of their research online. They want to kind of not take too much of a risk to be venturing out there. So I think that's really interesting that even after the restrictions started easing, the website traffic did not actually start going down. It only started increasing every single week since we started measuring this data. And we think that your website has become like your digital shop front, right? And companies will have to continue on their CMS journey, for example, to ensure that they are creating these intuitive websites. And I'm talking about too many trends, but this for me, it was very fascinating as a salesperson and as a leader of the business here. The last trend which I want to call out was around chats, right? So chat has emerged as a key communication channel during this time. Again, we saw a huge uptick in adoption of the chat or conversation tools within HubSpot, which indicates a preference for personalized one-to-one style communication with businesses, as businesses cannot meet people in person. So again, very interesting trends around the marketing emails, sales emails, website visits, and the use of chat as a tool to engage with customers.
And so in terms of success for those companies that have adapted most effectively, are there markers, are there indicators of what people have focused on to be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one, like I just kind of segue to what I said earlier, was for businesses to start investing in chat. And again, I'm not saying create a very advanced AI-driven chat bot. Like even simple chat bots will go a long way to satisfy customers. And this will also relieve your teams from the manual work involved in the basic qualification screening or meeting bookings or lead routing or simple customer service tasks. Like all these mundane, like basic stuff can be actually taken over by chat bots, so that you can have your employees focus on more high quality stuff and let the chatbots take care of it. The other thing which businesses have done well, or successful businesses have done well, is they realize that they are competing harder than ever before in the online world for the mindshare of their customers. But it's not about the quantity, right? It's not about just sending too many emails out there to customers and annoying them and irritating them, right? It's rather focusing on creating quality content. And that's where, again, inbound becomes very relevant, where you create meaningful content, which your customers can see truly adding value to them. Again, we talk a lot about inbound, where we say, first you need to add value before you extract value. And that's exactly what we saw from our customers, that you need to, if you need to be successful, truly try to solve for the customer, build content which is meaningful for them, And yes, you can sell to them later. You don't have to get into a sell mode every single time you engage with your customers.
So we ourselves got during this period, we had merged our B2B marketing lab business with Empool, and that meant that we had to rebrand to this and rebuild our website, our digital presence in that process. And I think looking back on this was a tremendous benefit to us, because there was a slowing of the pace during this period in terms of our levels of activity externally. But it's been the development of that digital presence for us that's made a huge impact on the levels of interest and engagement with our new brands and our therefore new customers as such. Have you seen that overall? Have you seen an uplift in CMS activity?
Oh, big time, big time. I think the CMS activity has been like our whole interest in the CMS product has been pretty big. Again, businesses who had an online presence pre-COVID did benefit in the initial phase, like when businesses moved online out of necessity. But for companies who may not have had a digital presence or a website, or their website was very basic or clunky, and they needed to improve the most, like, and the best place for them was to kind of look at a platform which was easy to use and which was agile. And that's why we saw a lot of interest on the CMS platform. Again, like for businesses which are still in the brick and mortar world, my advice is that consider your needs and options, like start getting on social channels as a quick first step. Look at the CMS platforms, which will help you build a simple website. Like typically in half day or less, you can get the websites up and running with CMS platforms. And like, again, I'm trying to sell HubSpot here, but HubSpot is definitely one of those platforms which can help you to get going on your CMS journey.
Great.
One more thing which was I just remembered, Bob, which we were looking at the trends, was around the customer behavior. Right, we realized that the customer buyer journey was actually getting longer in the COVID days as compared to pre-COVID times, right? Like globally, we saw the deal creation slowed. And understandably, given the state of the world economy, businesses were trying their best to resume normal activities as much as they could, but there was a lot of uncertainty. So what we saw successful businesses do was that they realized it will pay off in the long run to be more understanding of the customers during this period. Like, you should not try to trick your prospects by hiding fees or trap existing customers with complicated exit clauses. Like we talk a lot at HubSpot about the HubSpot customer code and not blocking the exit. And we saw that successful businesses were able to still solve for the customer. Like I really like an example from Netflix, where they said that we will cancel unused subscription. Like if some customers have not used Netflix for a certain period of time, we will actually send them a auto cancel and ask them to kind of say, if you're still interested, please kind of resume your Netflix and Netflix. So that's really what the businesses should be doing. That we should not try to take advantage of an adversity, but we should be very thoughtful. And again, if you're providing a great customer experience, you don't try to sell to your customers now. They will actually appreciate that and come back to you when times are getting better. So again, we talk a lot about HubSpot about solving for the customer, and that's extremely important, even more so during these times.
That's it's a nice example of Netflix. I think for my household's lived on it for the last few months. But our event today, it took us a lot of time and effort, and the guys in the background pulling everything together have done a tremendous job of connecting everybody and bringing everyone together. The Southeast Asian market is famous for its reliance on face-to-face meetings.
Yeah.
Part of this whole process must have been quite a significant cultural shift, having to appreciate the world of virtual, and gaining and building trust virtually is quite a challenge.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I also feel that I strongly used to say this, that Hub in a Southeast Asian market is and I've been in this market for, like you said, for 20 years now. So I think I get this market to some extent. And I always felt strongly that, hey, you have to be in front of your customers, sitting across the table to build that trust, to be able to sell and be seen as a partner to our customers. And I realized that we were not doing that bad even during the COVID days, right? Like we were still able to close deals and be productive and be effective. And actually, I made a confession to my manager, to Jitu, that I think I have something which I call as mind trash. Uh, the mind trash is basically telling me things like a sales team should always be in the office if you want to be successful. Like you should be always meeting your customers face to face, meet them for a coffee, go to their office, shake hands with them if you want to be building that trust. And again, over 20 years, I've aggregated that mind trash more and more and more. And I realized that, well, like at the end of the day, if you're truly helping to solve their business problems, they don't need to be sitting across the table physically with you. Like you can actually still build that trust by truly understanding their challenges. And again, I'm sounding philosophical, but I realized that more so than ever before, because I did not have any of my props with me anymore. Like I did not have the problem, oh, let's meet for coffee, or let me just come over to your office, or you come to my office, I'll host you and show you our cool, micro kitchen and stuff like that. Like that was all off the shelves. It was all about how can you help me solve for my business challenge, Mr. HubSpot or Miss HubSpot, right? And so we had to really kind of take that leap of faith, saying, yes, we have a solution which is truly going to solve for our customers, and we lead with understanding our customers' challenges and solving for them. So for me, it was a lot of erasing that mind trash. And still, like I said, we were successful. In fact, HubSpot announced recently, Bob, that in 2021, we will have a new way of working where all employees in HubSpot globally will actually get 3 options. Either you can be a fully remote employee, or you can be a flex employee, which means you can come to work 2 days or less, or you can be at work employee where you come to the office 3 days or more. And the first time, and I know Katie Burke is speaking later today at your event, when Katie introduced that concept, again, my mind trash was like, no, we can't do that. Like, how can we have our employees not coming to the office and give them an option? But again, like I said earlier, the data is there to prove that our employees have been equally productive. They have been really, really effective in engaging with customers. And still we have been able to maintain our culture and evolve and enhance our culture in the last few months. So I think my tip to everyone is that challenge yourself, challenge the mind trash, which you might have accumulated over a period of time. And I think a lot of my colleagues in HubSpot are much younger as compared to me. Like I'm from the 1970s, I'll not say more, but I accumulated more mind trash as compared to some of my other colleagues who had less unlearning to do. So that way, I really feel that it's also for us to challenge some of the stereotypes which we have created over a period of a long time, saying only this is how you can do business in emerging markets of Southeast Asia, or India can only be, you can be only successful in India in a certain way. All these things were actually put to test for all companies globally, including HubSpot.
I couldn't agree more. If you're from the 1970s, I must be from the 1870s. The things that you build up over years of doing business, this has forced us to challenge so many of those thoughts along the way. I've been to 2 of your events, your Grow events in Singapore, and they've been massively successful. Huge numbers of people gathered together, great deal of excitement generated by everyone there. How have you managed that? You touched briefly on it earlier. Just wanted to dig into that a little. What have you changed? How have you approached the marketing of this type of event for HubSpot?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like I said earlier, a lot of mind trash for me. So the first time when our marketing team came and said, and again, nobody knew how COVID-19 would turn out and how long will it last and stuff like that. So typically we do our Grow event here in Singapore in September, October timeframe every year. And so we have to start planning 6 months in advance, right? So around March, where COVID-19 was still kind of a newer concept for many people and nobody knew how bad it could be. Now we know how bad it is. The marketing team came and said, there's a lot of uncertainty. and we need to ensure that we are not putting anything at risk by signing up for a very expensive event space and not being able to run that event eventually. And I was like, guys, like this is one of the biggest way for us to get a lot of interested prospects come to this event and learn about HubSpot, and ultimately like you're building more awareness, more pipeline for the business. So as like, I don't think we can be successful this year if you're not running the grow event, and we typically get more than 1,000 people coming to grow. So for me, again, this was an absolute no that you cannot even think about canceling the event, guys. Like you have to work through this. COVID-19 will pass. Let's just go ahead and do it. And thankfully, the marketing team is much smarter than I am, and they were like, no, we don't think it's a great option for us to take such a big risk. And now I'm proven wrong that yes, it was a risk. We could not have run a physical event of that magnitude in Singapore. And so we said, okay, if we are not doing the grow event, how do we still continue to engage with our prospects and customers and build the awareness around HubSpot and going inbound and stuff like that? And what we did, Bob, was we basically said, let's refocus our energies to reach out to even more people than ever before, right? So we actually turned the situation on its head. And again, when I say we, I'm giving the credit to the marketing team, where they said, grow, we typically get majority of people coming from Singapore and the surrounding countries. Like we had majority of our customers or attendees coming from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, right? Like that was kind of the majority of our employees. And again, from the Singapore office, we are catering to the whole of Asia, right? And it would be super expensive for someone, let's say from Hong Kong, to fly in for any event or for a one-day event and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So what we started doing was we said, let's actually create these micro online events which are very catered to the target market which you're trying to reach, right? Again, we did do webinars in the past, but they were really more of open-ended webinars which were like a generic topic. But then we said, okay, now we do have the bandwidth of the marketing team to do something more customized in this virtual format. And we started looking at very localized, country-specific online events at a much lower budget and getting a much higher ROI. So as an example, just last month, we ran an event for our India-based prospects and customers where the topic was about how can Indian businesses go global, right? We ran events for like specific markets with specific topics, and like the kind of attendance we got, like we got more than 5,000 people registered for that event in India, right? Like we thought it'll be 1,000 people, right? But then we got 5,000 people registered for that event, and like I don't remember the exact numbers, but a majority of them showed up to the event as well. So again, the way we have been managed to reach a much wider audience, which somehow like it's a bit of give and get, right? That okay, if I'm doing this big physical event, the marketing team is spending too much of the time on that, and they can't then curate customized events for other markets. So I really, if I look back, I would say that we've got more ROI with these few events combined together than we would have got with one big physical event. Again, it's got its own merits beyond just the ROI piece, but I also feel that all businesses, including HubSpot, had to kind of take that plunge and adapt to this new world. And I'm not regretting at all that we did cancel our online event, our physical event this year, but we did really tweak our strategy and got a lot more done through these focused events. The other thing which we could also get was to get more variety of speakers who didn't have to fly in physically, right? So that way that adds more variety to these online events, because you can get speakers from different parts of the world joining in together. Like even for this specific event we are talking about today, Grow with Inbound, you actually have more speakers, I think, than you could have got just in the London office. So I actually feel there are all merits of being virtual, and one of them is this format.
So the clock is ticking away rapidly. We've got 9 minutes, and with a couple of things, I've just had a nudge, reminder that some of you out there may well have questions for Shahid that you'd like to put forward. I've got two in here at the moment, which I like the look of, which we'll come back to in a mo. But just a reminder to any of you that who may have, please do drop those questions into the chat pane and they will find their way up to me. I wanted, bearing in mind, quick plug, you've got a thing called Inbound coming up quite shortly. We all had our tickets booked for August, but now the virtual event is what, 22nd, 23rd of September.
Yes.
And anyone who doesn't have that in their diary should definitely put that in. We're looking forward to it at Huble. But I know that you must be tricky because I know you can't tell us all of the secrets, but don't worry, Shahid, we won't tell anyone.
Except the 500 people on this call, but yeah.
612 people registered, but they won't say anything, don't worry. Do you have anything that you can, a little spoiler alert, just tell us a little about it?
Yes, absolutely. Again, one, highly recommend folks to register for Inbound. I actually, like, obviously I've been looking at the agenda develop in the last few weeks. And there's a lot coming at Inbound, but what I'm most excited about is how we are going to make our enterprise tier even more robust. So there are a lot of announcements coming through in the next couple of weeks. So again, to your point earlier, Bob, I can't spill the beans and be cross with Halligan. But I'm very excited about some announcements we're going to make in the next couple of weeks around enhancements on our product and some features which will really help our enterprise customers to get even more out of HubSpot in terms of the deliverables. So I'm pretty kicked about what we will see coming from Inbound for all marketers and salespeople and service people.
Okay, that's great. I was perhaps hoping for news of another hub, but you know, I quite understand. I got a question here with 6 or 7 minutes to go. Are you actually? Are there anybody back in your office at HubSpot? Do you actually have a date? Are you planning to return anytime soon?
No, so a couple of offices are actually open, but we are again asking people only to come to the office if they have a dire need. Some offices are strictly closed. For example, Singapore office is strictly closed. We've not opened it at all for our teams to come back. But the general philosophy is that if you can get your work done from home and you don't have more of a dire need to be in the office. If, for example, like I said earlier, some people have too many people staying in their homes and they just can't focus on their work, so they want to come to the office. Or some people are like, I have not seen a single soul for so long time and I want to be in the office and get some human interaction. But unless and until it's really important or a business need, we are encouraging employees to stay at home and continue working from home. We will, again, the situation is very uncertain, but like I said earlier, in January, for all our employees globally, we are giving them an option to go fully remote or be flex or be partly working from home.
That's fantastic, and we're definitely looking at following you on that initiative. I think that's a fantastic approach. There's a question popped onto the chat pane about what hasn't worked as such. What perhaps changes that you've made that have perhaps not turned out as you had planned, and anything that you can advise us, admit to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I talked about how we were being very thoughtful about employees, but like one thing which again we corrected it eventually, but what did not work was for us to paint all our employees with the same brush. This is more on the employee engagement piece, where I was like, hey, I've got this dedicated home office and in my house, and this was there even pre-COVID. And when some employees were like, hey, I'm gonna be not coming to this meeting, or I've got a channel, like, what's your problem? Like, why can't you just be able to work from home seamlessly? So I think that was more of a oversight on my side to understand that people are in the different phases of their lives, which I mentioned earlier. But at least for me as a leader, I did not actually tell take that, or understand that that situation very well initially, but eventually I did kind of understand that, hey, yes, there are people in a different phase of their lives, and you need to adapt to them, and in your working style with them and engaging with them. On the business side, what did not work very well for us was we were trying to acquire a lot of new partners, but because of the COVID situation, some new partners are a little more hesitant because they're not sure to partner with another vendor, in uncertain stages. But again, that was short-lived for us. Once things started returning to some normalcy, we were able to come back on that. But like I would say that yes, we were a little more aggressive on some of those things, but we did come back to the expected numbers later.
We're getting very tight on time now. Just a very quick response, if you would.
Sure.
This one, I think, is very appropriate to the times. During recessions, marketing teams tend to cut budgets. How does this balance with the general need for digital transformation from HubSpot's perspective? Has the overall experience been beneficial for you? I saw some results from HubSpot just recently. Share with our audience how it's been.
Yeah, and that's true. Like that's absolutely true there, Shane. That typically during recessions, marketing do tend to cut budgets, and I think where we were able to be successful, like you said, Bob, like our earnings did come out for Q2, and we did pretty well. Was primarily because we could attribute a lot of the ROI of marketing with the HubSpot tools. Like, if marketing is not seen as a cost center by the business owners, and they can attribute ROI to marketing activities, I think it's kind of easier for them to justify why we need budgets for marketing. I think that really helped us. The whole reporting capabilities within HubSpot and the attribution reporting which we have really helped us to help marketers go back to their business owners saying, hey, if we can use HubSpot, we'll be able to get better ROI for the business. I think that really helped our cause. And the other piece was marketing teams were cutting budgets for sure, but then our thing was, okay, you are not going to do this physical big event, Miss Marketer, but then you have to do something else to generate those leads, engage with your leads, nurture the prospects. And so you need to look at a digital platform, right? So they did, let's say they cut $100,000 on the physical marketing strategy, but then they invested $20,000, which is much lesser, and get a better ROI with HubSpot. So those two things really helped us a lot in terms of attributing the ROI of marketing. And second is that where you had a budget cut on one side of marketing, where did you use that money or lesser money in something which is more better in terms of ROI?
Thank you, Shahid. That was a great session. That's flown by. And I'm getting a reminder here that we've got other sessions running. I wanted to thank everybody who stayed with us right to the end of the session. And just as a reward, we're putting up a little simple competition today that it's very simple to enter. Just tell us what your key takeaway has been from the last session and from any of the other sessions that you see today. Post it online to LinkedIn with a picture if you like. And the hashtag, most importantly, the hashtag Grow20. Don't forget the hashtag. That's what tells us you're in it to win it, as they say. And we'll select a picture or a post at random. And you could be the proud owner of a nice brand new pair of these wonderful and very cool Apple EarPods. And yet the pictures on screen are our two previous winners of such things. So yes, we really do give them away. So please take a moment to enter that, and don't forget the hashtag Grow20. Right now, we've got 2 sessions starting. They're literally just starting now. Please join Matt Creswick and the amazing Aaron So from HubSpot's Singapore office. They are chatting away about adjusting your marketing plans for 2021. And if you're interested in Stripe and the importance of taking payments online, we've got another session with Darren Smith from Huble Digital talking to John Stoner from Stripe. You've been a wonderful audience. I know you have. Why not click over, take a look at those sessions. I just want to thank you, Shahid, one more time. Really great to see you. Thank you for taking the time to come and join us. That was really, really good fun.
Thanks for having me, Bob, and good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you. And everybody out there, have a great day. Thank you. Bye.